Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have all the way from South Africa, Denver Vermeulen. And his passion has become, well, I think you're going to have to explain more of the details, but the issues with electromagnetic fields. He's been qualified in mechanical engineering, business management, occupational health and safety management with 25 years work experience. So I'm really thrilled to have you here and to have this opportunity to share with our listeners a little bit more about this field. But before we begin, what is it that got you interested in this health field particularly, or in health in general?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. M. I have always been interested in health and well-being, so that I've carried with me throughout my life, and really why I got into occupational health and safety management. Yeah, it's been a bit of a long journey from my childhood days, where I was stomping around the countryside looking for crystals, and my original fascination with life really about energy and the nature of life. And yeah, I got a little bit sidetracked in the mainstream for about 25 years before studying Tensor Field Technology, which I started in 2018. And I've been making the Tensor Field devices for just over a year now.
Mm-hmm. So can you explain what Tensor Field, like what is this? Pretend that some people know nothing and some
Sure.
people, just like, where would you start with this? And
Yeah.
how do you, what is it that you're working on?
So a Tensor Field device or Tensor Field tool is made from copper wire, which is folded and twisted and then cut to specific sacred geometrical lengths before joining the ends together with soldering. And at that point, it establishes a working tensor ring. It acts like a piezoelectric antenna, and it connects to the etheric templates for the ring, the non-physical part of the ring. And so together, the physical part and the non-physical part of the tensor ring is what gives it the properties and the benefits. So yeah, they act as a room temperature superconductor along with being a piezoelectric antenna. Sounds all fancy, and it is. But yeah, they're really creating a tensor field, and a ring produces a column of light in both directions. And a generator is a combination of 4 or 6 tensor rings woven together into a sacred geometric form, and they have a different character in terms of their tensor field. They produce a sphere-shaped tensor field, and whereas the ring will have a column of subtle energy and light that is about 9 meters in either direction, so about 18 meters in length overall. The tensor field generators have a massive tensor field. So the 4-ring tensor field generator will have a field that is 4.165 kilometers in diameter, so around about 2.88 miles in diameter. And then the 6 tensor field generator, that has a tensor field that's 9.59 kilometers across. Can't remember exactly offhand now the miles in diameter. So, I mean, that covers the entire home, the surrounding community and environment. And
So, yeah, let me just clarify it then. I mean, this is a device to protect you. I mean, everyone, whoever gets it, and their
yes.
home. I mean, coming from mechanical engineering, like I could see that you might be interested in building this, but why is it so important that people protect themselves? Like what's going on in your mind, or not your mind, in the reality, that shared reality here? What's going on that people need to pay attention to this?
Yeah. So one of the benefits, properties and benefits of tensor fields is that they transform harmful electromagnetic fields into a coherent and beneficial energy. So harmful electromagnetic fields occur in nature. The energies in the earth itself that are negative or harmful to us. But the real problem is with our technology. All of our electrically powered systems and devices produce a harmful electromagnetic field. And of course, the rate at which our electronic systems and electric systems and devices have been increasing is exponential. In the last 5 years leading up to 2020, the number of smartphone users doubled to 3.5 billion users. And what's going to be happening in the next 5 years with 5G is that a quarter of the mobile internet traffic will be on the 5G network. Half of the population of the earth will have access to the 5G network. And it's really a 5-fold increase in the traffic from what we see today. Even more scary than that is the satellites that are being launched into orbit around the earth. The first satellite was launched in 1958, and in 2019 we had around 2,000 satellites in orbit, and by 2030 we can have 20,000 satellites in orbit. So just in, that's 10 times as many in less than 10 years. And that's only part of the current plans to launch 82,000 satellites. Wow. So, I mean, the planet is already covered with cell phone towers, power lines, substations, power stations, all of these things. And now it's going to be, the whole planet's going to be covered from the sky. So it's really inescapable. We can't avoid being exposed to electromagnetic fields that are harmful, and we can't escape them. And it's just becoming more and more intense. So ultimately, we need protection from these harmful electromagnetic fields. That's the only way we can really deal with it. There's no way of stopping what's happening. It is happening, and it's going to happen. So we need that protection.
And like I was hearing now, Elon Musk, and maybe with Apple, I'm not sure if they're in partnership, but that they're building this dome basically all around the world, that maybe 5G won't be needed, but they have yet another system which would have a huge impact too. I can't imagine that could be healthier. Your thoughts on that, or my knowledge is not very, it's very secondary. It's more like I watch things and I'm, you know, I'm fascinated at all these creations, but I'm wondering, you know, we tend to put things out in the world before we know they're safe and before
Absolutely.
we know the impact on people's health and, you know, and their life, their energy, their ability to function and all that, right? So that's why I'm always interested in change, but I'm also very skeptical because because the research isn't usually done. You know, we're the guinea pigs in so many things, you know.
Yeah, and enough research has been done. It's just that it hasn't been taken into account. The standards for electromagnetic radiation from cell phones or smartphones, that standard is 25 years old. Back in the day of 2G, and we're now having the 5G rollout. So, I mean, 255 EMF scientists have signed an appeal from 44 nations, and that's gone to the World Health Organizations and the UN Environmental Program, urging them to look at the science, to look at the data, and set new standards for from an environmental, health, and community perspective. Large concern for the effect on children because they're especially susceptible,
Right.
and all of life, in fact. I mean, with bees, there's colony collapse disorder. So they're being affected by the radiation as well. And naturally, bees are vital to all of life. So it is a bit scary what's happening. And I haven't heard about what you mentioned now with Elon Musk and the dome. But tomorrow, in fact, there's a protest at SpaceX headquarters about 5G and these satellites that are being launched into orbit. And then the following day, there's the 5G global protest.
Okay.
Yeah.
In South Africa or worldwide?
Worldwide. So on the 20th of March, it's worldwide.
Okay.
On the 19th of March, it's at SpaceX headquarters, where they'll be delivering an open letter to Elon Musk, to SpaceX, urging them to basically stop the rollout of launching all of these satellites until a safe technology has been proven or established.
Because otherwise we're always in the role of protecting ourselves, you know, and it's interesting because, you know, I believe it starts with a healthy body, but if you can't keep a healthy body because you have these, you know, large environmental factors that are wiping out our natural immune system and our like all of the different functions in our body, then then it feels as if we have no choice to have something to protect us, you know, until and I don't think the truth or the research is going to be the thing that makes the difference. At least looking at it in different things, I think it's the vested interests that are at play, and the power of these vested interests. Because if it's really about health, then that would be the first thing that would be looked at.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's very difficult to come up with a voice against, you know, not against, a voice that it shouldn't be against. It should be just a voice forward, you know, so that there's actual real discussion, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So my focus is on the practical side of making a real difference, and I appreciate protests and appeals and dealing with things in a structured and formal manner, backed by scientific evidence and all of that data. And I'm glad that there are people out there that are doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and so my focus is practically what can we do. And one tensor field generator, the larger one that I mentioned, sorry, not one. We only need 15 of those in urban areas to protect 1 million people.
Wow.
That's what's so great about the tensor field generators is that we can easily protect a lot of people. And we've already mapped how we're protecting around 1 million people so far. So that's been mapped on Google Earth.
Okay.
And to protect all people on the entire planet, we only need 120,000 tensor field generators. And it's really a small problem to solve.
Yeah.
From that point of view.
Wow.
And yeah, you're quite right about the effect on our bodies. EMF radiation compromises our systems at a fundamental level. So it affects our biofield and our energy centers on the one hand, and then on the other hand, our cellular function. And that's obviously fundamental. If we've been affected at the cellular level, everything else is going to be compromised. So with protection from tensor field devices, tensor fields, they create coherence throughout the body and support us from the cellular level up, as well as our biofield and energy centers. So typical way of using the devices at the personal level is to wear a pendant, or to wear it as a wristband, or place a tensor ring on our cell phones. And we can do that as well with Wi-Fi routers and on the electrical panel for the house. So those are the ways we can use tensor rings, individual tensor rings. But the more powerful way is the tensor field generator. So, one person has one of those. They're covering tens of thousands of people within the tensor field that they create. So that's the most powerful way to really make a difference.
And what is the I mean, not specifically, but generally, like the investment of that, if people wanted to do this for their community, or what type of investment are people looking at? Hi, I'm Dr. Manon Bolliger, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching these podcasts. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, feel free to leave comments and like it. This way, more people get to find out about this work and about other choices for health. So I think it's really important that we all share this information. I have a free gift to you. It's a 7-sequence email that has tips for every day, and it's a little insight about how to live your life when it comes to health. And it's very much built on how I managed to overcome stage 4 cancer and what it took. So I would love you to have this, and thank you once again for listening to these podcasts.
in US dollars, I think it's 180 US dollars per tensor field generator. So if we look at 15, so per million people, let's just say it's $200. What is that now? $3,000 per million people. Am I right?
This is incredible.
Yeah, it's 40 million US dollars for the planet, for all people and the planet. It's nothing when you think of how much money is being spent on technology. $40 million for all people and the entire planet is really nothing. It's still money, of course, but it's really not a big problem to solve.
No, exactly.
So 120,000 generators, 40 million US dollars, and we've basically solved the problem.
Wow. So how, because, I'm aware that there's different summits that discuss this, and and over the time I've bought different things to put on my phone and pendants,
Yes.
and there's a lot in the market. So what are things that people should ask or know about in order to determine that it is indeed helpful?
Yeah. So when they are made, the tensor rings and the tensor field generators, really the most important part is that the length that the twisted copper wire is cut to is precise, that it's according to the sacred qubit measures and the etheric templates that exist for the rings. And we work according to 2 decimal places on the millimeter scale. So, for example, the one size will be 278.43 millimeters. So this is not something that you can achieve working against a ruler or a tape measure. So one can only work so far by eye, and then how do we achieve that final measurement? So I do it with dowsing, and there are others that do it with engineering instruments like digiscopes and things like that. So that's one of the most important parts during the construction. But once the tensor ring has been made, again, I use dowsing to check each and every tool to make sure that it's got the properties and benefits. So again, that's done through dowsing. So it'll be a statement like, within the tensor field, this tensor ring or tensor field generator transforms harmful 5G and electromagnetic fields into a coherent and beneficial energy. So we need a yes answer for that. So it is a little bit tricky then for people to differentiate or determine what's out there, because not everyone is specifying the specific properties. So mostly they'll mention according to what sacred qubit measure a tool has been made, but often it's not specified what size the tensor field is, and what tests have been done to confirm that it is a working tensor ring or tensor field generator. So probably the most well-known company out there that is making tensor rings and tensor field generators and other tools to a reliable standard are Twisted Sage Studios from the United States. in Buffalo. I don't know if it's Buffalo, Colorado. Anyway, yeah, Twisted State Studios. I'll always support them. I've basically learned from them how to make the tensor rings and tensor field generators. So they, for example, use instruments like a digiscope to get their measurements correct. But yeah, learning dowsing is a great way to confirm the properties and the benefits.
Yeah. It's funny to, maybe it's my own small-mindedness. I don't know, but it feels funny to think from being trained as an engineer that you would say dowsing is your measurement that by
Yes.
it feels like a jump. I get it, but I'm not an engineer, right? So I wonder how did you bridge that? Because I'm sure or maybe engineers use dowsing and they just don't talk about it. I don't know, how.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, for me, there was always a connection to the energetic side of life since my childhood, and I kept that all the way through, my mainstream work. The main thing to overcome there, I think, was just doubt, really, that I could do dowsing, which we all can. It takes some practice. And yeah, really just practice about asking good questions or making good statements. And yeah, it teaches you through practicing it. About the field, because you're really accessing the field, the subtle energy field that is all of life, the life force energy out there or inside it. So yeah, it was interesting to make that shift.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is interesting, but it's not a shift for you. It's kind of it's a connection you've always had. Like, I mean, for me too,
Right.
I've always felt this connection, and
Yes.
I went to law school. It's not like, but I did learn to trust my intuition, right? And intuition and dowsing, it's a way of knowing how your body also responds and trusting, like you said, your body knows. It's not instinct, which is much more fear-based.
Yes.
Intuition is a peace state, that knowing, that you're connecting. So anyways, it's okay. One last point, or well, we have a couple more minutes.
Sure.
Can you talk about because our bodies are mostly water.
Yes.
And the impact on having what I would call chaotic vibration. So it's like there's no coherence in the water in our bodies. Like, can you see a clear shift when the body goes into coherence?
Mm-hmm.
How long after a person has is living or has a ring or has a generator, like how impactful have you seen from people or working with other maybe clinicians or in the health field, that you can see changes that people are really saying, wow, that since I've used this, I no longer have migraines, or I no longer have, like what is the research you could point people to? Or because I can add all these links so that people have access to this as well as a website.
So from an anecdotal point of view, the easiest way to pick it up is to treat our drinking water, to transform our drinking water. So we can do that with a ring or with a generator. And yeah, within overnight or within 24 hours, there's a complete change in the drinking water. There are a lot of measurements that go along with that. But basically what the tensor fields are doing is they're restoring water's original life-supporting blueprint. They're clearing water memory, and they're creating coherence in the molecular structures of water. So that's the easiest way to pick up on it, is our drinking water. If we're wearing a tensor ring, or we're in the presence of a tensor field generator, then the tensor fields will be working with the water in our bodies in a similar way.
Right.
And one of the, apart from creating coherence throughout the body and at the cellular level, the structured water ensures intracellular hydration. So we've got 100 trillion cells. Proper hydration is essential for energy production and elimination of toxins. So it's benefiting us in that way. But a lot of people are just saying about the taste of the water. So a smoother, lighter, sweeter taste to the drinking water. So yeah, maybe an interesting study that's been done by dancingwithwater.com, and they've got a book out by the same name, The New Science of Water. They place 2 containers of water on a scale, so the same volume of water, so the scale would be balanced. And then on the one container, they place a tensor ring, and within 24 to 48 hours, depending on the water, you'll actually see a shift in the scale. So the one with the tensor ring on it, the water actually becomes lighter and shifts on the scale. So that's the indication of the water being structured and going to a higher spin rate or almost. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. But the science obviously gets a bit technical, and over the past 30 years, there's been a lot of scientific studies through unified physics and medicine on the one hand, and then on the other hand, with things like dowsing and biofeedback and psychic work, to really bring us the news about what the tensor fields are actually doing and capable of doing for us.
Anyway, no, it's fascinating, and people, like, we're going to wrap up, but will you give us a few of these links that we can put when we launch the podcast, and then your website?
Sure.
That would be great, just so people who want to go a little bit deeper and find out more, or order one. I don't know if you ship all the way to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We ship worldwide.
I definitely will get one. So yeah, I've been
I'd love to gift you one. I'll send you some information to have a look at. You can see what you're attracted to, what appeals to you, and I'd love to gift you something as a thank you for hosting me on your podcast. Thank you, Dr. M. Yeah, I'm available to answer questions, to provide further information. So we're busy on Facebook as a community for the mission to protect people on planet from harmful electromagnetic fields. Very active on LinkedIn as well, and we mapping on Google Earth the protection of people on planet. So there are a number of places where we're active and people can participate. What we really need is through social enterprise and enlightened entrepreneurs and organizations for people to collaborate and to contribute. This is really our problem to solve. No one's going to solve it for us, and we can do it, and we can do it easily.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to maybe do a live or something after our podcast goes. Then if we can attract more people with questions and see how we can move this forward. So anyway, it's fantastic work. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.